Have you ever considered the humble fork lying beside your plate? It seems so simple, so ordinary, yet its journey to your dining table is a tale spanning centuries, continents, and a dramatic evolution of human culture. Tonight, let's drift back in time and uncover the story of this indispensable utensil. Relax, close your eyes if you wish, and let the story unfold. Our story begins not at a dining table, but in the ancient world, where the earliest forks were not for eating, but for serving. Picture large, two-pronged implements, crafted from bone, bronze, or wood, used by cooks in ancient Greece and Rome. These weren't personal tools for savoring a meal. They were robust instruments for lifting and carving massive joints of meat from roaring fires or bubbling cauldrons. For the diner, the hands were the primary tools, a direct and intimate connection to their food. The concept of each person having their own fork was still a distant dream, an unimagined luxury. The fork's journey from the kitchen to the dining hall was a slow and fascinating one. It first began to appear on the tables of the extremely wealthy in the Byzantine Empire, around the 4th century. These early table forks were small, often made of gold or silver, and were seen as objects of immense luxury and exoticism. When a Byzantine princess, Theophanu, married the Holy Roman Emperor Otto II in the 10th century, she brought her golden forks with her. The Western European court was shocked, viewing their use as a sign of decadent weakness and an affront to God. After all, had God not given us fingers to eat with? This perception would linger for centuries, casting the fork as a symbol of vanity rather than practicality. The fork's acceptance in Europe truly began in Italy, particularly in Venice, a bustling hub of trade and cultural exchange with the East. By the 11th century, Italian nobles began to adopt the fork, finding it particularly useful for eating pasta, a notoriously tricky food to handle with just a spoon or fingers. The fork helped keep their hands and elaborate ruffled collars clean, an important consideration in an age of burgeoning fashion. Catherine de' Medici is often credited with popularizing the fork in France when she married King Henry II in the 16th century, bringing her collection of elegant Italian forks to the French court. Even then, it was a slow burn. Many viewed it with suspicion as an effeminate, pretentious Italian novelty. King Louis XIV of France, a powerful trendsetter, famously preferred to eat with his hands, which slowed the fork's adoption among the French aristocracy for a time. Across the English Channel, the fork was met with even more resistance. English traveler Thomas Coryat introduced the fork to England in the early 17th century after his travels in Italy. He was mocked relentlessly for his effeminate Italian habits. For a long time, the fork was seen as unmanly and unnecessary. It was the subject of sermons and satirical plays, a tool for the overly refined and foppish. Gentlemen of the era took pride in their ability to carve and eat gracefully with only a knife and their hands. The idea of using a fork seemed delicate, almost insulting to one's masculinity. It would take nearly another 200 years for the fork to become commonplace on English dining tables. So what changed? How did this once scorned utensil become a non-negotiable part of our daily lives? The shift was gradual, driven by evolving ideas about hygiene, etiquette, and social status. As societal norms shifted towards greater refinement and cleanliness, the fork's appeal grew. Handling food directly with one's hands began to be seen as less civilized. The fork offered a clean, elegant solution, distancing the diner from their food and elevating the act of eating into a more graceful ritual. Owning a set of silver forks became a clear and visible symbol of wealth and social standing. Families would display their silverware proudly, a testament to their prosperity and good taste. A major turning point in the fork's design and popularity came with the Industrial Revolution. Before this, forks were expensive, handcrafted items. But with the advent of mass production techniques in the 18th and 19th centuries, forks could be made cheaply and in large quantities from materials like steel. This made them accessible to the burgeoning middle class, not just the aristocracy. It was during this time that the modern, four-tined fork became the standard. Early forks had only 2 or 3 straight tines, which were great for spearing food but not so good for scooping. The addition of a fourth tine and a gentle curve to the prongs transformed the fork. It became a versatile, all-in-one tool, capable of both piercing and lifting foods like peas or rice, making dining a much less precarious affair. This design was so efficient and user-friendly that it has remained largely unchanged to this day. By the Victorian era, the fork was firmly established. In fact, the Victorians developed a near obsession with specialized cutlery. There was a fork for everything: a fish fork, an oyster fork, a salad fork, a dessert fork, a berry fork. Dining became an intricate ceremony, with a complex array of utensils flanking each plate. Knowing which fork to use for which course was a critical sign of good breeding and social education. This tyranny of the fork, as some called it, represented the peak of its role as a status symbol, a key to navigating the rigid social structures of the time. Today, the fork has completed its journey, from a functional tool in an ancient kitchen to a controversial symbol of luxury, and finally, to a universal item in homes and restaurants around the globe. It sits quietly beside our plates, its dramatic history hidden in plain sight. It's a testament to how our ideas about food, cleanliness, and civility have changed over millennia. The next time you sit down for a meal, take a moment to look at the fork in your hand. It's not just a piece of metal, it's a piece of history, a symbol of our long and complex relationship with the art of dining, a silent witness to our shared human story. Thank you for joining me on this quiet journey tonight. I hope it brought you a sense of calm and wonder. If you enjoyed this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more peaceful explorations into the history of everyday things. Until next time, sleep well.